All right, today we are diving deep into the fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes baffling world of the philosopher Slavoj Žižek. We're going to tackle a really strange question. What if you're following an ideology, even when you don't actually believe in it? It's a wild thought, but stick with me because it might just change how you see, well, pretty much everything. So, first things first, let's just forget the classic definition of ideology for a minute. Instead, I want you to chew on this puzzle. What if all the rules, the social rituals, the systems you follow every single day, what if they don't actually need you to believe in them to keep on working? This paradox is right at the heart of Žižek's thinking, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack. And we're not going in alone. Our guide for this journey is Raphael Winkler's excellent reader's guide to Žižek's landmark book, The Sublime Object of Ideology. Think of Winkler's guide as a super clear map for navigating these really powerful and, sometimes pretty difficult ideas. Now, to really get what Žižek's new idea is all about, we first have to understand the old one, the one he's trying to tear down. Okay, so the traditional view coming out of Marxism is this idea called false consciousness. And it's pretty straightforward. Ideology is basically an illusion. It's a set of mistaken beliefs that hides how society really works. You know, who has the power and who doesn't. It's a kind of trick to keep people from seeing the truth of their own situation. The classic metaphor is to think of it like wearing a pair of glasses that distorts everything you see. The catch is, you don't even know you have them on. And in this old view, the solution seems so simple, right? Someone just has to point out, hey, you're wearing glasses. Then you can take them off, see reality for what it is, and boom, you're free. The key thing here is that it's all a problem of knowledge. It's about what you don't know. The whole idea can be summed up in a simple formula. They don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it. People are part of the system just because they're ignorant of how it all works. They're basically victims of a big deception. But this is where things get really interesting. Žižek, building on the work of another philosopher, Peter Sloterdijk, looks around at our world and says, hold on, that model just doesn't fit anymore. I mean, seriously, think about it. Are we really that naive today? Most of us are pretty cynical. We see the hypocrisy in politics all the time. We roll our eyes at corporate mission statements. We know for a fact that advertising is trying to manipulate us. We aren't deluded believers. In fact, we pride ourselves on not being fooled. So how does ideology still work? Well, the answer to that is something called cynical reason. This is the modern state of mind. Sloterdijk even calls it enlightened false consciousness. It's this idea that we know the system is flawed. We know the ideals are often just for show, but we go along with it anyway. We have to, right? To get by, to keep our jobs, just to function. And you see how this just completely flips that old formula on its head? It's no longer, they don't know it, but they're doing it. The new formula for our cynical age is, they know perfectly well what they are doing, but they are doing it anyway. The illusion isn't in our heads anymore. It's baked into our actions, into the very reality we all participate in. Okay, but this just raises another, even stranger question. If none of us really believe anymore, if we're all just cynical players in the game, then what is holding the system together? Who or what is actually doing the believing for us? There's this perfect example of this in a novel called White Noise. A character is just totally shocked to find out that the nuns running a hospital don't actually believe in God. So he asks one of them, why do you keep up the act? And the nun basically says it's their job to perform belief for everyone else, for the non-believers, who need someone, somewhere to still believe. It's like they've outsourced belief itself. And this brings us to a huge concept that Žižek borrows from the psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan, the big other. Now, the big other isn't a person. It's more like the system itself, the symbolic network of society. Our institutions, our laws, our social customs. It's the anonymous they that we assume believes in all the rules, even when we personally don't. We act as if the system itself is the true believer. And this is what allows the modern cynic to operate. It's what lets me privately think, oh, this patriotic ceremony is such nonsense, or this corporate jargon is meaningless. I can think that because, unconsciously, I'm assuming that the system, the big other, takes it seriously. My own personal disbelief only works because I've outsourced the actual act of believing to this abstract, anonymous other. Okay, so we've moved from ideology as a simple illusion to a cynical performance that relies on some kind of outsourced belief. But now, we get to Žižek's most radical, most powerful, and honestly, most mind-bending claim. So let's go back to that original metaphor, right? The idea that ideology is just a pair of glasses that messes with our view of a reality that's already out there. Well, get ready because Žižek is about to completely shatter that idea. Here it is, the absolute core of the whole thing. Ideology is not the glasses distorting reality. Ideology is the invisible fantasy, the framework that constructs our social reality in the first place. It's not a distortion of reality, it is the very foundation for our reality. So what is this ideological fantasy actually doing for us? Well, for one, it gives us a coherent story. It makes our lives feel meaningful. It papers over all the deep, messy contradictions in our society. It gives us our social identity. It tells us who we are. And maybe most importantly, it makes a chaotic, random world feel stable and, bearable. And this leads us to our final and maybe most profound question. If ideology is this fantasy that builds our entire reality, what is so awful that this fantasy needs to exist? What on earth is it protecting us from? Because now, we're way beyond just hiding simple economic truths. We're talking about something much more fundamental, something at the very core of what it means to exist. And that something is what Lacan and Žižek call the real. But listen, the real is not our everyday reality. It's the opposite. It's the traumatic, chaotic, messy void that lies just beneath the surface of our neat and tidy world. It's all the raw violence, the contradictions, the ultimate meaninglessness that our social systems can never quite make sense of. It's the raw stuff of existence itself. So, when you get right down to it, the ultimate function of ideology isn't to trick us about politics or the economy. Its real job is to be a collective fantasy, a shield that protects us all from a direct, terrifying, face-to-face encounter with the unstructured chaos of the real. Our shared reality is, in a way, a necessary defense mechanism. Which leaves us with one last, pretty unsettling thought. We're always talking about wanting to get rid of ideology, right? To live in a world of pure, unvarnished truth. But if ideology is the fantasy framework that holds our world together, the very thing that shields us from unbearable chaos, what would actually happen if we finally managed to tear it all down? What, if anything, is waiting for us on the other side?